right, what's up, everybody? Welcome back here to Kickin It With Knuble, episode 22. Mike, we are back. A lot of changes from last time we talked. I know you were out west a little bit. A lot of
Mhm.
hockey stuff we could kind of talk about. But how are things? How you doing?
Yeah, good. We're out in Palm Springs there and having a lot of fun. The weather was great. Played some golf again out there. So now I've been to Phoenix and been out to Palm Springs and
There you
um,
go.
enjoying some of the. Gets long in Michigan, like I said before. You need some heat a little bit, so it's
Yeah,
nice to. It's
yeah,
nice. It's even though it's about 60. I don't know. It's going to be almost 70 this weekend here, but it's
mhm,
still nice to get out of here for a little bit. But I missed
yeah.
a lot of.
I lost you, Mike. I think your mic's off.
Oh, sorry, I hit the button there. I was adjusting it, rookie. But I haven't seen a ton of hockey, so we will. We'll go through this some of the stuff that you have highlighted, and we'll talk about
Yeah,
it. So, yeah,
yeah, yeah. A lot of different things kind of been happening. As Mike's been kind of traveling around the world,
yeah,
or I guess
yeah.
around the country, I guess I should say. Trade deadline, Mike. That's pretty much the big topic from this episode, and the past. I don't think we're gonna spend a ton of time talking about the current, I guess, state of the Flyers. It's kind of obviously there's things to dissect and whatnot, but most of the season. We've kind of mentioned it before, and how the last 20 something games here are going to be pretty rough, and kind of where they're at. But in terms of the deadline, they make three moves. Uh, in terms of the out and in, kind of the kind of whole pictured outlook here. So Scott Lawton goes out at 50% retained. Andre Kuzmenko goes out at 50% retained. Eric Johnson goes to the Avs. They send out a 2025 fourth round pick and a 2025 seventh round pick, and then a 2027 sixth. That goes out. Is there any way you can quiet that?
Yeah, no, it's like
Sorry.
they're texting about tickets. I don't really know. I tried to shut it off my computer. No, I hear you. I
Yeah.
don't know how to quiet that. I'm trying
Yeah,
to.
it's fucking sorry. I didn't want to be like that, but it was just I
No,
kept
no,
I
and
was
it's
trying to
distracting
talk.
me because
Yeah.
they're figuring out tickets for this weekend, and it's just like okay, like because my wife just landed, and it's just like all this stuff, and
Right.
I need to like I'm trying to figure out how to turn it off. I turn it off of my computer, but it's still going through. Like it's driving me crazy.
Um,
Well, sorry about that.
no, you're good. It's no big deal. Um,
Well, you know what? I'll just you know what? I know how to do this. I know how to
just to
do this.
do not disturb.
Yep. Put on. Yeah, yeah. No, you're helping. There you go. Helping the older guys turn their phone off. Sorry,
There you
buddy.
go.
All right.
No,
Here
it's
you
all right.
go.
All good.
All right.
All right. Oh shit. All right. Do you want to restart, or do you want to just go right back into
Oh,
it?
I don't know. We can go with that. That's kind of funny little interlude.
All
Yeah.
right.
Funny
Yeah, because
interlude.
I thought the rookie thing was funny too.
Yeah, I know, I know. There, I'm a rookie again.
Yeah.
Can't shut my phone off. Yeah, all this stuff, but I'll get it squared away later. It's fine. I turned my phone off. There we go.
There we go.
Yeah.
All right. Um,
Just back up a little bit because you were
yeah.
losing me there. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, Lawton goes out, Kuzmenko goes out, Eric Johnson, a couple picks, Flyers retain some money. Um, Coming in, Nikita Grabenkin from the Leafs, 21-year-old forward from Russia, gonna play in Lehigh Valley. Seems like a pretty, high-end prospect for the Flyers. They get a 2027 first round pick, third round pick with the Kings. Giovanni Smith comes in, Mike, who I know you had a couple run-ins with in Grand Rapids at the AHL too.
Yep.
Um, so yeah, I mean it's definitely a moves that you want to see at the deadline if you're the Flyers. Like Briere makes a couple moves that are just like you got to sell. You have some assets here, guys like Lawton. Um, Eric Johnson goes out, and the Flyers didn't necessarily like really have to do that. They kind of
Uh-huh.
did that for EJ. And I think that kind of ties into what we've been talking about, Mike, like the past couple of weeks. Like Briere kind of has to get, you know, everything, with trying to make the team better, also making the culture better, and that's things like that are things you want to see too. Um, so yeah, I mean, in terms of that, all three retention spots are now full, for the offseason and whatnot. But any, just any thoughts on kind of, things that kind of went out and, everything that kind of came in for the Flyers at the deadline?
Well, yeah, Scott Laughton there, he thought he was gonna go somewhere, right? And there was the debate last year whether he was gonna go. I turned my phone off. I don't know, what's going on. Here, I'll shut it
Do you have
completely off.
AirPods, Mike?
I do. Yeah, but hey, Siri, turn off. Okay. All right. Siri, turn off. Oh my God. Okay. So yeah, Scott Laughton deal. I mean, he was going to go possibly last year. And that's Danny doing a good thing. He gets something out of it. Give Laughton a little something out of it. For being a good soldier. Keep a little bit of money, and then Kuzmenko felt like he wasn't going to be here very long. It felt like from the I don't know, just from the vibe of everything, didn't feel like he was going to, maybe like a pass through, like he was going to set up for another deal. And, um, again, take half his money. All this keeping the money, make sure it makes guys more appealing and easier to get rid of, right? And that was always the spot.
Yeah.
You had to find somebody to have the money but if you can go 50-50 on it, it certainly, is very helpful in moving a player. And then Eric Johnson's been, a great mentor for guys, and going back to the Avalanche where he played, I think he won a Stanley Cup there and stuff. So
Yeah, it did. Yep.
it'll be a great addition for them on the depth part, and so I think those are all good, guys to send out. I think they're all, pretty fitting. And then you have Nikita coming in from the Leafs. He was, he'll be a good, you probably see him a little bit more as a bit as a prospect. And Giovanni Smith too, who we had in Grand Rapids. I coached him as a young player in Grand Rapids, and he's a second rounder, I think, to Detroit. And he's bounced around a little bit, but he's kind of a tougher guy. Can play with a real edge. He's got a little more skill than you think he does, but he can actually he can play. He can play and he can fight a bit. So whether he's up or whether he's in Lehigh, he'll make the guys in Lehigh a little bit stand a little taller for sure. He'll be, and I hope he buys in. And I hope he wants to play there and stuff, and if he does, then he could be a real good help to Ian and the crew down there, and that'll be up to them to kind of hopefully get him on board there, so
Yeah.
help their
No,
playoff chances
100%.
a lot more. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, as of now, I believe, as we're recording this, I know the Phantoms are in a pretty good spot. It seems like, they've kind of had, like, the past couple of years for them, it's been trying to kind of, I guess the way to put it is, obviously, you want to build, but you feel like that they could maybe be a little bit better, considering, like, the Flyers have been in a rebuild for a little bit, and it's one of them things, like, they have to kind of draft and develop guys, and everything goes through the AHL and whatnot, and that's more of like your development and things like that. And they've made the playoffs, and there's been improvement. They made the playoffs a couple years ago, lost in the first round, made the playoffs last year, ended up winning a round. So there's been slight improvements, and they've made the playoffs. As of right now, they're pretty much in a dogfight. I mean, they're going to make the playoffs. It just depends on seeding and all that for the end of
Yeah.
the season. But to get Grabenkin, who adds some skill into your prospect pool, and also can go right down there and play in Lehigh Valley and whatnot, and then you have Smith, like you talked about, add some some kind of grit and sandpaper and whatnot, and all those little linkos they kind of describe physical guys and whatnot. So it adds in different areas. In terms of like the off season, like the Flyers are really setting up for a pretty big off season. Like they have, as of right now, it's around like 13 million or so in cap. That's projected. There's like, Mike, I remember a couple years ago we were talking about like, the percentage of goalies and like how much, you want that to be in your cap. They have like almost 15%, almost 20% in dead money retention. Players basically that you are paying to not play in Philadelphia, like Kevin Hayes,
Mhm.
D'Angelo, Cam Atkinson's another one, like, and Cal Peterson. Like there's all these little things. So like a lot of that money is going to come off, not all of it, but a good chunk. And the next like 2-3 years, you're going to see all that money leave, and then with the way the salary cap's going and all that, like the Flyers are going to have a lot of cap space here. And if there's one thing you've seen in like the recent like championship model, it's been like cap space has been used as a basically as like a player essentially, where like you use that and it's a huge tool. And I know Vegas did really well with that too. But just any thoughts on just like how much salary cap can be used and whatnot, obviously as a on the business side of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's it always gets it's sometimes it's a you run your team so long and you don't have all your money, then you get it, and then suddenly there's this pressure that you got to make the right decisions here with it, and it's how do you're going to have to re-sign some younger guys who played their way up and are up for contracts, and you're going to have to use it for that, and then try and get a free agent or two to do it. And obviously, as you go through organization's philosophy, like Danny and Keith, they'll have like their you talk about that percentage. They'll be like, okay, here's our split. We need 50% with our forwards, 30 with our D, and 15 with our goalies. Whatever, plus or minus a little bit. You got to try and get to those numbers, and then it gets a little bit difficult, but it is nice for all that money to free up, and it'll be good. You feel like the reins are kind of off a little bit, and then the organization decides, okay, what are our percentages need to be here? How are we going to line this up? What do we feel the best? Do we spend more on defense or a little less on offense or on forwards? It's and then timing who becomes unrestricted at a certain time, and these
Right.
days you can let, it's nice, there's no tampering, but people talk behind the scenes, and you can kind of figure out, if you're starting to target somebody in January, February, you can get a hold of their people, and there's a lot of little backdoor conversations being had places where you can kind of figure out who you might want to go after and if they'd be interested even in coming. And so it's exciting time. So, you'd rather have an extra amount of money than trying to worry about every nickel and dime that you have, what you're going to
Yeah.
do with it. So, then there's pressure with that too, like you said, to make the right decisions and pick the right people. And it's, that can get a bit stressful too, if you miss on something, and then you're right back in the hole again, right back to
Yeah.
square one. So,
Exactly. And especially too, Mike, when you look at it, it felt like for like 4 years that they had like 600,000 in cap space. Like they just had no
yeah,
room to do anything
yeah,
because
yeah,
you had guys at higher contracts and you weren't like you didn't move any really like not big name guys, but guys that were like, bigger, you know, just like AAVs and whatnot. And like
yeah,
obviously
yeah.
like things are gonna change and guys are gonna come in. Like a couple guys are still on ELCs right now.
Mhm.
I believe Tyson Forrester's one of them. Like they have a couple
Yeah.
RFAs and stuff, Cam York.
Yep.
So like
Yep.
some of that stuff isn't they're not gonna have all that space going in next year, but it is encouraging to have a good chunk of space. You can still move out guys. I think, I know it's really early to kind of talk about this stuff, but I think the way that the roster shapes up, they're in a desperate need for offense. I think
Mhm.
defensively, I think they're actually set up pretty well on paper. In terms of the goaltending, like that's obviously always going to be like a kind of up in the air kind of thing. I think you've seen
Yep.
moments where Sam Erson can be great. That was one of the biggest things we talked about going into the season was like, you know, how much they need to find a goaltender. Um, Ivan Fedotov has had moments where he's looked great too. Obviously, Kolosov proved he's not ready for the NHL yet. But in terms of the other guys, like you saw moments of greatness, you saw moments of like we really need to save here, and not both these guys aren't giving it to us right now, and like that's kind of been a little bit like the past few games as we record this, and again it's past the deadline, and you got all these different things going on and whatnot, but it's just one of those things where it makes you excited at least for the future, and these games they and might suck to watch the rest of the season, but there's there's definitely hope at the end of the tunnel. It felt like those couple years there was all just kind of talk and kind of he say she say kind of thing, but now it seems like there's a legit chance that they could really turn this around, and not just like in a couple of years. It seems like as soon as October,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
seems like next season. So it's definitely a different mindset, I think.
Well, that's what you hope for. You hope for continued development of your prospects. and your younger players that keep developing. You hope for a prospect or two that can maybe get up and make the team, and that's not the answer all the time either. But it just seems like GMs now just having that flexibility. They're all craving this flexibility and moving players, and that's super important to make some of these decisions. And then you got to make hard decisions you don't want to make necessarily, but you have to do it because it leads to something else. And so it's interesting. It's good. I don't know. Hopefully the guys who are playing there, and I know there's, it's a chance for them to play more and chance for them to help cement their careers. And I hope that players realize that instead of just kind of watch a schedule dwindle a day. I hope some guys try and take advantage of this, and become and keep improving and playing hard every night. And again, these guys who are restricted free agents, they got to be playing for something. You're playing either for a qualifying offer or something above your qualifying offer, or maybe you become pretty valuable and they can trade you in something. But
Right.
So maybe a little bounce off that. I know it hasn't gone lately. There's a couple other teams going through these little post Four Nation swoons a little bit, So it's it's I know I turned my whole phone off. I don't even know where this is coming from, but yeah, but it's there's teams going through that little swoon, and hopefully the players play out of it and
Yeah.
kind of get there. You're going to win some games, and I don't know. The guys will play hard. You hope so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One last question I got for you before we get into the rest of the league and some of the other stuff on deadline day. Do you feel like as a player, like like when you get to later in the season and obviously like the Flyers, there's no chance that they're making the playoffs. Then if they go on I think they'd have to win like 17 or 18 of these last like 20 something games or whatever it is. Like the chances that happen are very slim. They're basically out, until whenever they're mathematically eliminated. As a player, do you kind of look at that as like, you know, you want to still finish the season on a good note in terms of, not just as a team, but, your own game going into the summer and have a little bit of confidence to kind of build on? Like, if you ever ended the season poorly, would that kind of, like how much would that kind of mess with your head, like going into the summer and whatnot?
Yeah, I mean, you still, you have a lot of pride as a player, right? You don't make it that
Yeah.
far. You don't make it that far to the NHL without having a lot of pride and playing through a bunch of crap, right? And
Right.
when stuff's not going good, or something looks bad, or the team's bad, you still got to play it. I mean, you learn that pretty quick. So that's embarrassing if you go down like that. First of all, it's super embarrassing and just not a good look for your reputation, and it's kind of unacceptable amongst your teammates. So it's something
Yeah.
where you go and you play hard every night, and still, again, you're playing in the NHL. You still have the logo on your jersey, and you don't want to embarrass yourself or ruin your reputation and not play hard for your teammates. And those are, teammates can tell when you're not playing hard, and that's not a good. It's not a good rep to start to pick up amongst your peers, and so there's always something to gain. You're in the NHL, and nobody says it's not your right to be in the NHL. It's your privilege, and you earned it there. And it's easy.
Right.
It doesn't come easy, and it can go very easy. So
Yeah.
as a player, that's a non-negotiable, really.
Right.
So
Yeah, no, it's definitely fair. I feel like it's one of those things that kind of fans, and especially now, like it's like, oh, they can get a really good pick, and they can probably get in the top 5 and all this stuff. It's like, well,
yeah.
like, I don't think, again, it goes back to everything we've been talking about this whole season. Was like, I don't think guys are trying to lose and all that, and it's just it kind of puts them in a little different spot. That's all.
No, there's not a player out there who gives a shit about where the Flyers draft and who's a prospect and who's a draft pick and where they're going to draft. They could care less about
Yeah,
where any of that stuff. That is so far
yeah,
out of their business. Like they don't care. They could care
yeah,
less about that.
yeah. I
So
just don't
I
give a
know the
fuck.
fans care,
Yeah,
but the players don't care. The players are not playing to improve the team's draft pick status.
no,
No,
exactly,
I know, and
exactly.
I hate hearing that, and it's just, I know it's the players they could give two shits about it. So
Yeah.
yeah,
No, I get it,
yeah,
and it's one of them things where you look at it, and I just I was the same way. Like, never thought a player gave a single fuck about any of that. Like, they're just
no, no,
there's nothing to care about with that as a
no.
player. As a fan, and when you look
As
at
a
the
fan,
outlook
for
of the
sure,
team,
yeah,
then yeah,
yeah, yeah.
obviously it makes sense, but Um, yeah, so again, it's a lot of those different things, and deadline day was always going to kind of cause some ruckus in terms of what do they do the rest of the
Mhm.
season and whatnot. But
Yeah.
um, yeah, I mean, outside of that, Mike, this deadline was probably one of the best in years for the entire National Hockey League. Like you had some big names get moved. Kind of a crazy day. I'm
Yeah.
not sure how much of it you saw live because I know you were in California, but um, the Avalanche, they load up with Brock Nelson. Eric Johnson goes back. They get Charlie Coyle and Ryan Lindgren. The Lindgren trade was a few days before, but they added a ton. Mikko Rantanen gets traded again. A
Yep.
sign and trade with the Dallas Stars, an 8-year deal. Brad Marchand goes to Florida. That was crazy. Obviously, Leafs, they get Laughton. Like we talked about, also get Brandon Carlo. Sabres and Senators, they swap with Cousins and Norris. Jets, one of the best teams in the West. They add up with Brandon Tanev. He comes back to Winnipeg. They get Luke Shen. Caps didn't do anything. They didn't do anything too crazy. I think they got Anthony Beauvillier from Pitt. They were,
Yeah.
as of right now, they're them and Winnipeg are the 1 and 2 teams. I know your Red Wings. They didn't do much. Got
No.
Peter Mrazek.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Who
mean,
we had in
just
Grand Rapids too. Yeah. Yeah.
yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just to kind of start, I guess we'll start probably the craziest thing out of it. Brad Marchand. Any thoughts on Marchand getting traded?
No, I mean, yeah, um, he had a lot of positive stuff to say about Don Sweeney and the Bruins, and obviously he should, And I thought we had an alumni thing there a year ago, and he was really good. I thought as a captain. I mean, I think it's a great run, and and here's a chance for him to go do it again. To go have another great run in another spot. So I mean, the guy, he's going to be a retired number there.
Oh
He's
yeah,
going to his
for
numbers
sure.
go to the rafters in Boston.
Yeah,
So it's kind of a little bit of a pain for him and his family or whatever, but ask them in June if they're in the finals and if it's worth it. So, it's. I'm sure the city of Boston's sad to see. I know they played the other night. I think he's out, right? Like I think he's injured a little bit,
yeah,
so
he's
he didn't
hurt.
play.
Yep.
Yeah, he didn't play. So, it'll work itself out. But yeah, that certainly makes them a lot. If they were in the top, top five of teams that were going to win, that probably jumps them up to the top 2 or 3 to win this whole thing. So,
Yeah, for
um,
sure.
and he's just got to go out. He doesn't have to carry the load there. It's kind of Kachuk's team. So
Yep.
it's, he can kind of, just maybe plays on a second line or something, or maybe plays on the top line too. But it seems to be, he doesn't have to take all the attention and be the big, be the big voice and stuff. It's kind of like
Yeah.
Kachuk's team and all that. So,
Right.
and then Kachuk can learn something from him too. They're going to bring in, it's a good spot to, it's another good move by Bill Zito that he's going to learn something from Brad Marchand, how to run a team and how to handle some stuff. And it's almost like an apprentice, coming in, just letting a guy come in and help educate Matthew Tkachuk a little bit more and make him a better captain.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's crazy. Like the last 3 years, the Panthers have added 3 captains to their team.
yeah, yeah,
Claude Giroux in 22, Kyle Okposo last year when they won the cup, and then Brad Marchand this year.
yeah.
It's
Oh
crazy.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't realize Giroux
Um,
was there. Was Giroux there? I didn't
uh-huh.
realize that.
Yep.
Oh, I
Yeah,
didn't. All right,
when
all
the
right.
Flyers traded him, he went to
Oh, okay,
Florida. Yep. Yeah, that's how
all
they
right.
got Tippett. Yep.
Okay, right, right, right.
Uh-huh.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, and then there's that obviously, and Marchand's in Florida, and then Mikko Rantanen. That whole thing was nuts. I'm curious. I'm curious. Like, have you ever seen anything like that where a guy gets traded twice in one season, doesn't expect it, and then like it's a sign and trade, and then it's like I think like for me looking at it, it's like if you're the Hurricanes, like if you're making that deal the first time, you got to have an idea if that guy's going to sign there.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
Rantanen, it's like that whole thing. He doesn't know about Carolina and everything, and like he wants to see the city and all that, and then he automatically signs an 8-year deal with Dallas. Like I don't know if that was just him bullshitting the media or whatnot, and just kind of saying it because he wanted to give himself a little bit of time or whatnot. But the whole thing was nuts, and he ends up being a star for the next 8.5, 9 years, whatever it is.
Well, yeah, yeah. I know. I don't know if, like you said, they did their homework or asked him. If he's, you think he'd make that trade and be like, "Hey, we're going to sign you as soon as we make this trade." And
Right.
unless he was saying, "Well, I want to see what it's like when I get there," and you take a little bit of a risk, but and I didn't know exactly what Carolina got, gave up to get him. and then receive back from Dallas to get him. But obviously, I think during the Four Nations there was lots of talk whether this was going to work out. I think get off to a slow start there, and
Yeah.
it's that deal didn't shock me. I think because I felt like that vibe was out there that he wasn't digging the Carolina part yet, and they were trying to make
Right.
sure that he did, and maybe they thought, well, let's just bring him in, and then he'll love it, he'll love it or whatever, and and fall in love with it. But he signed it was a good deal for Dallas, and then signing right away, it's a pretty good deal, and then you get no state tax there in Dallas, so it turns out to be an even better deal, and so
Yep.
I'm sure now he's happy there, and there's always been a good tradition of Finns at Dallas, so.
Yeah.
There's a lot that have come through there, so maybe that's more comfortable there. I have no idea. So,
And then Colorado, they load up Brock Nelson, Charlie Coyle, Ryan Lindgren. Avs are looking pretty good. I mean, outside of that, that whole trade with Rantanen, they get Marty Necas out of it, and he's been great in Colorado. And then and then just one last point about the Rantanen thing too, Mike. Like I wanted to mention that was it was kind of unfortunate, I guess, the timing of the deal, because one thing that someone kind of mentioned was like the Hurricanes only played like I think it was like 4 or 5 home games when they had Rantanen. Those 13, like they weren't, and it was like a game home and then they went away, or they were on the road
yeah,
for a lot of it. So like that was probably part of it too. But outside of that, the other team in the West, the Avs. Any thoughts on Colorado? And it seems like the West playoffs this year are going to be insane.
yeah. Yeah, they're certainly going up. Like they're sending a message to the rest of the league. They're loading up here a little bit, and I don't know how long everybody's going to be there. But Lindgren was kind of running out of room there in the Rangers, and Charlie Coyle I always thought was a pretty good part of Boston. But again, they're out, so they're going to kind of, they're kind of liquidating a little bit. And then Eric Johnson, a great depth player for them, and Brock Nelson. Yeah, he was that was a worst kept secret. He was going to be out of the island. So those are all you got to look at Colorado kind of loading up there. Those are great additions for them. And then you talk about the deal they made with Carolina, get that Nish Cash kid, and he's a great young player. He's going to be there a long time. So Colorado, yeah, they definitely took advantage of the deadline, really loading up here. So
Yeah.
pretty good to see from them. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Mike, I think right now there's a chance that Colorado can end up playing Dallas in the first round,
Yeah. Yeah.
which would be sweet.
That would be a little bit interesting there for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. The only thing that stinks about that is that you're gonna have so many good teams leave the playoffs early.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like just the way it's set up, and as a player, I think you played through both, uh, like playoff seedings. Am I right
Wild
with
card
that?
system or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. Did
I
you
like
play
the
with
one
the
through
one
eight.
through
Yeah.
16?
Yeah. I always
Or
like the 1 through 8.
yeah.
It's a little simpler and you can't hide. I don't know. Some teams get, you can fool a little bit. I don't know. Getting a conference championship or whatever. I don't know. It doesn't really mean anything I don't know. Yeah, I guess it does. But I like the 1 through 8, with a guarantee. I think the top had to be the winners of the divisions had to be in the top two. Yeah. And then after that, it was just everybody slotted in, right? I mean, it
Right.
seems kind of
I think it
simple,
went
but
it went by points percentage, right?
yeah, or percentage, yeah, winning percentage or whatever. But yeah, I
Mhm.
don't know. I mean, doing this wild card thing, it really keeps some cities into it. I mean, I kind of the same effect. The bottom two in effect end up well. You could have a third place team in a division be worse than the wild card. Could
Right.
have less points than a wild card. I don't know, or does it work like that? I don't know. It could, but yeah, if the wild card's in the other division, yeah, it
Mhm.
could work out like that. But
Yeah, it could.
um, yeah, but again, the league's goal to have as many teams possible and fighting for spots is what they want. And I know
Right.
some grumblings. They might keep tweaking it. Some leagues come up with different ideas and different ways to tweak stuff and have adding playing games or doing something like that. Something kind of fun for the fans where, uh, there's a little extra game here or there. The owners like it. They get another day at the gate, and players might not as much, but you can figure something out. Playing games or they tweak it a little bit. So um,
Yeah.
I think every couple of years it'll change a little bit, but.
Yeah. I agree. I think when you look at it, like Ottawa as of right now is only 3 points behind New Jersey. They're 3 points back with 2 games in hand, and the Devils
Yeah,
are third place in the Metro, and the
Yeah.
Senators are a wild card team. So
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
they're two different divisions. So that's what you mean. It's like it's different. I never really enjoyed the wild card. I wish they kind of went back to everything from before. Even the scheduling. We talked about this, like when you guys would play like 8 games against Pittsburgh, because
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
the stuff that brings rivalries in. And like, do I think every team should play every team? Yeah, I think so, at least once. Um, I think like you can obviously separate it. Like there should be at least one game, and then you flip flop what year the team is home, and kind of go back to the rivalry stuff. But I know that's a bigger conversation and whatnot. But
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, it's just one of them things that kind of maybe see what happens over these next couple of years or so. CBA and all that stuff's changing and
Sure.
whatnot too. So,
Yep.
but
Yep.
yeah. Outside of that, Mike, it was a little chaotic, but episode 22 is done. A lot
Finally
of
figured it out with 2 minutes to go. Yeah, be
yeah,
silent.
yeah.
Come on, silent. Yeah. Yeah.
It's all right. But yeah, again, thanks everybody again for all the support as always. Checking out Kicking It With Knuble. Getting a lot of support recently on the pod. Everybody's been listening, and the average listeners go up, so we really do appreciate that. And thanks everybody again, and we'll talk to you guys all again next week. See you guys.
See you later.